Hello and welcome to the webinar Life Forces and the Etheric Body. Today I'm going to show you how to deepen your understanding of a holistic view of the human body and the human development. And you might also be joining here in order to look at illness and health in a completely new light. We will also touch on how you can implement the knowledge and insights you gained today in your daily life. So stay tuned, because at the end I will announce especially how you can use all these new learned content and how you can practice that in a different way. So my name is Laura Gadina. I'm a soul body health coach, author, and speaker. My upcoming book, actually my chapter that is co-authored in the book Silver Lining Storybook, is coming out soon, and you can find a pre-order registration form on my website at www.lauragadina.com/SLS, and standing for Silver Lining Storybook. I'm talking about my chapter Walking with Weight, and hope you will enjoy that. And actually there might be some insights too, how the life forces and the etheric body connect, but only so much I'll let you know here. There's another book that I'm writing on right now. It's called The Art of Living Inside Your Body, and this was really how I created soul body health coaching, that I believe our bodies are so important. They are they are the quintessential reason why we are here. Without the physical body, we couldn't be here on Earth, although we try really hard. But let's get started. Besides having been a world of class teacher, having studied remedial studies in Germany, where I'm from, I also studied systemic constellation work, which is really the core of my work. Whenever you get a session with me, you get exposed to my family systemic constellation thinking and how I see issues that arise in these really different dimensions. One coming from the world of education and anthroposophical point of view of viewing a human body and our human development, and then how family systems are functioning and what patterns and loyalties are present. On top of that, I added holistic health coaching so that I can understand a little bit better what is going on with your health and your primary foods. All right. Let's see. The human bodies. Actually, yes, it is not just one body that we have. There are several of them. And you will find that the structure I give you today is similar to structures you've seen before mentioned, maybe from the Hindu perspective, or with the chakras, for example, or you might find it with other esoteric healing modalities. Barbara Brennan School is one of the big ones that really have a very scientific view on how those human bodies are interconnected and how many layers there are. I'll give you the very simple rundown of 4 bodies as I perceive them and see them and use them in my understanding of observing human bodies, or human beings. So the physical body, let's look at this. The physical body is what we see in the mirror and touch with our hands. Yeah, it is our vessel, or the whole of our being here on Earth. Without it, there would not be a foundation for your life. If you didn't have your body, you couldn't live on Earth. So it's really the foundation, your base, your home here on this planet Earth. Yeah, very simple. The interesting part, though, is whenever we refer to, oh, my body is aching, we believe it's the physical body. Many times it's not. So you will see why. The next body that we want to look at is the etheric body. Yeah, the etheric body, which is the topic of this webinar, will be our main focus today. But before I can focus on just the etheric body, I want you to understand that there's a structure, a bigger picture to it. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense, you know. So the etheric body is whatever brings our physical body to life. Yeah, the etheric body permeates our physical body with life force, and that brings it to life. Indicators for being alive are heartbeat, very clear. Whenever there's someone on the ground and you see, it could be unconscious, could be asleep or dead, you check for these two vital signs: vitality, life forces, heartbeat, and breathing. Very clear, right? Yeah, makes sense. Good. So these are indicators that an etheric body is present. For example, other ways could be that I'll define in a second. The etheric body builds the physical body, and it is all about growth. Yeah, life forces are always growing. If something is not growing, it's wilting, then it's not a life force, but death. Yeah, the counterpart to life force. If it's a force or just a void, I leave up to you. But it's definitely not the life force in itself, the energy. And then you can find life force in plants. So plants have an etheric body. Stones, not so much. Yeah, but plants do. They really grow and grow. And etheric body, the whole concept is a place where we are unconscious. We cannot really feel, well, maybe we can feel well-being, we can feel energized. That's kind of it. It is also connected to the vegetative nervous system, so where we cannot control the digestive system, for example. We can't decide where the peristaltic is deciding to to crunch on whatever is going through there, or when it lets loose. We cannot do. We have no ability to change that. Yeah, heartbeat, we might change with our breathing. So the faster you breathe, your heartbeat increases, but we don't really have full capacity to consciously decide when we stop breathing and when we breathe. We can focus on it and consciously breathe, but if you decide you want to stop breathing, after a certain amount of time, after a few minutes, your body kicks in and tells you, you know what, stop it. You don't know what you're doing. I will take over. I know better. So that's the reason why we usually keep on breathing, and the heartbeat keeps on beating, and we keep on digesting and all of that stuff while we're asleep. Yeah, we don't have to be conscious for these things. We don't have to be conscious. Yay. Makes sense, the etheric body. The etheric body, by the way, is also, it's a layer not on top of our physical body, but it permeates, it's within our physical body. It's all the processes that are happening there, right? All this movement that keeps us alive. Plus, it then comes out outside of our body, like about 1/2 inch to 1 inch. It builds up, yeah. It's less dense, obviously, but the most dense of all the non-physical bodies that we're going to describe, and usually can be described as a blue light that pulsates over your skin. Some see it that way. Others can perceive it maybe more as a shimmer, just in general, shimmer of maybe golden light or white light. Sometimes it also depends really what in what realms you're thinking and perceiving. So that's the etheric body. When the etheric body is not present, we have death. Yeah, if it is diminished, for example, goes back into the body and doesn't come out, it's not outside your skin, you often can find skin issues like psoriasis or eczema. Yeah. All right, let's move on. Astral body. The astral body. Since we've been so far unconscious, let's get conscious. We have color here. People often refer to the astral body, also to the aura. You find emotions and the thinking, the thoughts and beliefs in here. Instincts are located here. And really, it's kind of the realm where I would say this is the soul level, yeah, where the soul is working, where we can feel emotional pain and happiness and all of that. Some also locate the chakras here, although the chakras are three-dimensional and go through several layers of our bodies, like go through different bodies, and depending on which stage you look at, the chakra is still present but has a different context. Yeah, is in a different context and therefore has a different, slightly different aspect to it. And then we have, once we have touched on all those emotions, again, I won't go into the astral body too much today because we are focusing on etheric, but there will be a webinar in April, end of April, where I will talk intensely about the astral body. In order to give us something beyond being driven by likes and dislikes, by instincts, by beliefs, and more the lower energies of emotions and all of that, in order to have a guide or actually someone who is a leader in this whole setup of a physical body, an etheric body, and an astral body, we have our higher self. To me, the higher self is not the ego. It is not the subconscious. It is actually the spiritual element that is kind of like a seed, like a freshly planted seed by now in our adults, and gives us purpose. That's where we find purpose, where we find motives, why we want to do things, why we do things. That's if it's combined with the astral body, it gives us enthusiasm, idealism. It gives us just all those reasons why we do what we do here on Earth, if it is guided, really led by the higher self. Of course, there are often times that we do things out of habit, which is etheric body, or that we do something driven out of likes or dislikes. So the higher self, really the purpose. All right. There was a question earlier today. Someone asked if our dreams are driven by the higher self. And obviously it's the question, which dream do we mean? The dreams that we have as in desires and goals or intentions that we set for us, yeah, the really the possibilities we want to grow into, yes, that is the higher self that we then ask to be present and that we want to make room for. Yeah. So the higher self, here we go, purpose and motives. All right. If there are any questions, since this is now a recorded session, please come back to my Facebook group, Soul Body Connection, and come back there and join us to discuss further if you have any questions, and or stay till the end now, as you will see there is an opportunity for a more in-depth connection where we can really talk about your questions in depth and do some exercises. Now let's talk about life forces. So as I'm describing the etheric body, which is really created out of life forces, whereas like the physical body, we would say, well, there are cells, there are bones, there's muscle tissue, blah, 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 right? That's physical body. The etheric body is made out of life forces, life energy. And when you think of the creation story, Genesis, how Adam was formed by God, physical body, and then God gave him his breath, right? He gave him his breath, and with this, he became alive. So that's really, whenever you breathe, you make sure you can stay here on earth. Obviously, without breath, we can't stay alive. We get unconscious and die, because this exchange of God's breath doesn't happen. So that keeps us alive. Life forces too surround us wherever we are, and anything that we call alive carries life energy. Yeah, makes sense, right? So stones, not so alive. Yes, there are gnomes maybe, or other elemental beings that are part of or belong to stones, but it's not the stone itself. It is more the place where things live, if we want to think about it this way. And when you think of life forces, they are always in itself healthy. They aren't sick. Yeah, a life force in itself is not sick. It is always growing. It is always growing, and there's usually no bad scent associated with a healthy life energy, right? Sick people smell, but a healthy child does not smell. And we are sensitive to smell, and we usually know. I mean, I always knew when my child was sick because I could smell it. And it was like when he was a baby, right, or a toddler. I could tell that we would come into another flu season or so. And when you think of life forces, it's exuberant, abundant, prosperous, growing, lush, right? All of that. All right. So now let's look at it just one last time in this overview. We have the physical body, which is really more like stones, the kingdom of minerals. We have the etheric body, the kingdom of plants. Then the astral body, the kingdom of the animals, right? They come with emotions. To me, animals have emotions. They are not plants, period. And then we have the higher self, which makes we, the human beings, have the higher self individually. The animals have a group soul. Yeah, they have this group animal that kind of groups them all together in the spiritual world. If you believe in the spiritual world, I guess you wouldn't be listening to this webinar if you wouldn't, but shamanic traditions, for example, talk about the group soul of an animal. And so they have that more as a group experience, whereas we human beings right now on the plane of the earth mostly really have this higher self that is born and comes into play in our life once we turn 21, or between 18 to 21. So let's talk about what happens to life forces and the etheric body when we are born. So before, when we are conceived, the parents bring together their life forces to create the child. And then the life forces surround us, the child, from our mother in the uterus, right? The uterus is kind of this vessel where we grow and grow and grow and grow. And that's really the place for life forces to be actively building on our physical body, right? Life forces build the physical body. Once we are born, we start breathing. We are now a physical entity on our own. And once the umbilical cord is cut, this vessel is yours. But, and that's where I think it's really important, it's not that the life forces are now cut off from us and our parents. Our mother has us still in her vicinity. She usually, I am an advocate for moms being able to stay with their children as long as they can, because they bring those life forces to those kids. Yeah. Once a child turns 3, it will have its first epiphany of who they are, that they are an I, not just a we are one. They have this epiphany of I can say I to myself. I have a name, not just a name. I can say mine and I. Around 3. It starts earlier and earlier these days. But so really, those first 3 years, they are surrounded by life energy from mom and dad. mostly mom. She brings this cocoon, this enveloping life force of mother milk, right? Of touch, which is warmth, of the gaze, of her voice. All of that nourishes this baby to stay healthy. If the mother would not talk to the child, not feed it, not give it any warmth, of course, that baby would not prosper, would die, right? Because there are no life forces. So the child doesn't yet have those life forces in itself accumulated around it and inside of it as much that it could sustain. So in addition to the life force experience there, we also have a sense of stimulation. You remember that I said life forces are in general unconscious forces, right? We are not really aware of them. But through giving us mother milk and the sensation of drinking and feeling nourished, and the touch and the warmth and the gaze, when we bond with our mother while being nourished, breastfed, her voice, all of that stimulates our senses. And that brings consciousness very slowly, very gently to the child. There have been these experiments where people, where a person is put into these tanks, like a place where they float in the water, and they have headphones, I think, like earplugs or whatever, so they can't hear sound. There is no light. So all their senses are like completely shut out. They don't receive anything, any signals. And people fall asleep. They get unconscious within minutes, really within minutes. The only person who was able to not fall asleep was in his head solving a math equation. Yes, that's why we learn math. So we stay conscious. We don't get unconscious. Yeah. So to understand this, when we see children growing up and they don't get any sense stimulation, or just one way of sense stimulation, like the TV or the iPad, then their whole body experience is not evolving into consciousness. It's their brain, their eyes maybe, but that was it. So big thing, why one of those big clear, I think, arguments towards no media before a child turns 8 or something. And without gaining consciousness, we would just grow and grow and grow like a plant. Also, if we don't eventually evolve away from just being in mom's etheric body, right? If we wouldn't evolve from that, we too would, it's like this energetic umbilical cord that stays. Yeah, if that has never been cut off, you stay with mom for the rest of your life, and you don't take on a partner, you don't move out, all of that. So, life forces in their right place at the right time are healthy. There can be an overload of life forces, or life forces in the wrong place or at the wrong time. You don't want growing cells just because they are unconsciously growing, because then they can become cancerous. You don't want mutations. You don't want to just grow and grow and grow in terms of weight. Who wants that, right? So that's when we need consciousness and collect consciousness to kind of tell those vital life forces, this is where it stops and I take over. So your higher self is present again. If you've ever been in nature, amazingly, in Germany, things don't grow as fast as in the States. So once I came here to the States, I was just amazed about this lush vegetation here. Everything was growing and growing and growing. And, in the summer, you would cut things, or in the winter, you cut things back, and it doesn't matter. It's back and growing in the summer, no matter what. So my impression is that life forces here in the States or in America is really incredible. Um, different. Let's say this way, different to Germany or Europe where I've perceived it. And sometimes I was just wondering if it's this vastness, the spaciousness of the states of America, where there is almost no halt to the life vitality, yeah, of nature. Anyway, all right. So the kingdom of plants. If we look just at the life force as it is present in nature, it is the color green, right? It is jungle and rainforest. That is, for me, vitality. It's all about growing, and of course, then also wilting. It's the life cycle, right? You don't have life if you don't have death, and you don't have death if you don't have life. It's a cycle. It is also cleansing, refreshing, and rejuvenating. If you've ever had the chance to lie on a beautiful meadow and look into the sky and just feel the earth underneath you and have the smell of freshly cut grass in your nose, I mean, that is refreshing to me. That revitalizes me. It also cleanses in terms of the people in Japan. They send people off into the woods, right? Oh, you're depressed? Take a hike in the woods, because it cleanses you on so many levels. I'll talk about that in a moment. So Mother Nature, obviously, right? The kingdom of plants. When you think of the jungle of rainforest, Mother Nature is just helping those plants to grow, just like a mother helps its infant to grow. Once we look at flowers and scent, which is again a webinar in April about the Astral Body, we'll see that there's a different energy and force that kicks in order to bring about a flower, yeah, and with a scent. It has a different consciousness to it. The life force organ. If we now go back from the plant world to us humans, where the life forces are existent, of course it is throughout this whole body that we have all everywhere. But there's one organ that is especially interested in life forces, and that is the liver, right? I think it is just so amazing. In German as well as in English, the language is just giving you a big hint here, that the liver has to do with life. Yeah, without a liver, you have no life. It is cleansing and helping you that no toxin comes into your bloodstream. It is safeguarding you as much as it could. Just like a mother, the liver would take on whatever it needs to ensure that you stay healthy. And so for me, and as I've been taught, the liver really stands for vitality, for growth. It's an uplifting organ that, that is just like the mother. It takes the hit. It's unconscious. We can't really regulate it like our maybe. Well, I don't know if we can really regulate our breath, but we can in a certain way. We can have access to our lungs, how we can breathe. But really the liver, we have no ability to go there, which makes it really difficult to even realize that we have a sick liver, because we can't feel it. You know how if you cut your finger, you feel that. If your heart is going in the wrong rhythm, you actually can feel that at a certain moment. Or if you have an upset stomach, you feel that. You have an upset liver, you don't know that. Sometimes I also would say, if your mother is upset and you don't feel that, yeah, that can happen. So anyway, when the liver is sick, you might feel an overall missing vitality. You might feel fatigue and tired. And yes, there are many other reasons why you could be fatigued and tired. There's the iron deficiency, and there are many other reasons, right? But also check the liver. Make sure the liver is okay. The liver is also connected to depression, Some say anger, others connected to grief. Grief actually has a more of an expression in the lungs. So sometimes there's a combination between the lungs, depression, and the liver. But whenever depression is present, you want to also help the liver. It has to do with the will forces as well. Will forces, meaning in terms of doing something for the future, going ahead, moving forward, a forward movement. You can tell when the liver is sick, you can often see the skin is discolored into yellow. I just say hepatitis. And the biggest phenomenon we can see with the liver these days is the fatty liver. In Germany, actually, in the language, we call it the prosperity liver, right? I think it makes so much sense because the fatty liver keeps back, oh my gosh, so many things that we just indulge in, from toxins over fat, over alcohol, all these things, sugar. It's just the liver keeps it all as long as it can, but eventually it just becomes like a more softer, bigger organ. It doesn't really grow. Usually we are born with the size of the liver as we have it later in adult years. That's why a baby belly is a little bit more, is a baby belly as we know it, because there's a lot to cover, right? There's a lot of liver in there. But then later on in our years, we want to make sure the liver stays firm, not calcification, but more firm, less soft, spongy. Actually, the doctors in the last century, I actually have to say, I'm not sure if they're still taught to do so in a regular abdomen, touching the abdomen when you go for a checkup. I'm not sure if they still touch the liver, but you can. You can actually feel the tip of the liver under your rib cage. But we could look at that at the study group and really see if we can feel our liver. Sometimes you can not. So this sick liver. Now, how can we help a sick liver? Detoxing, right? We want to help it to get rid of all those toxins. I've heard of really intense cleansing ideas, like I think it's called a master cleanse, where you just drink so much olive oil thing. I have not tried it. I don't know anything about this. I know, though, that lemon water is a really excellent idea in the morning, empty stomach, lukewarm, or actually room temperature or even warmer. If you can stand lemon. If you are allergic to lemon, that's not a possibility, but maybe you can try a compress of a lemon and a warm towel that you put on your liver in the morning with lemons on it. Either you put lemon juice on it, or you really cut open a lemon and kind of put it on your stomach, on the area of your liver, and put this warm towel over it, half an hour resting on the couch, and you're good to go. It's something really helpful for the liver. And another thing I love is wheatgrass shots, right? It's this liquid green life, just that. It's green life, wheatgrass shots. Has so many good things. I can't even, I think you all know, I know there are a lot of coaches listening here, you all adore wheatgrass shots probably as much as I do. So I just want to point it out, it's so green, that is just good for the liver, right? So if there's ever someone drinking too much alcohol and they want to detox, they want to do something better for them, well, give them a wheatgrass shot. So how can you rejuvenate your life forces aside from lemon water, lemon compresses for the liver, and the wheatgrass shots? Eating green is a big one, right? Not just drinking it, but eating it, both of that, always. Green is perfect. Parsley, right? Cilantro, all of that. That's just awesome for the liver. Really happy. Avoiding the toxins, ideally. No alcohol, not too much sugar, not too much fat. Fat's good, but you don't want to overdo it with greasy bacon and donuts and whatnot. Fresh air. As I said, God's breath. Breathe it. You want to breathe. We often tend to have a very shallow breathing. And meditation is another example where, besides walking outside and taking a hike through the green, lush, beautiful nature, getting the fresh air into your lungs, meditation too, both of them have the same benefit of relaxing you. You get into a resting state, and your flight and fight mode is turned off. Your adrenal gland, fatigue. The adrenal glands, they stop, putting all the crazy stuff out of adrenaline, and you start getting into a resting and deeper breathing experience. And as I said, in Japan, doctors send you off into the woods when you're depressed or when your vitality is at stake. Yeah. Whenever you feel stressed, instead of stressing more, give yourself a break, lean against a tree, look up. If it's green, it's great. Look at green things. It will help you soothe you. Walking in nature, ideally barefoot, as you can see, and detoxing emotions and reoccurring thoughts. So detoxing emotions. What would emotions have to do with my vitality, you might ask, right? I'll tell you why. So it is this way. It's a little bit of a complex answer, but emotions are really, really crucial, and in terms of determining how much vitality comes in and is allowed to live. Let's look at it this way. So we lead with our leader. This is the higher self. Yeah, as you can see here, higher self that comes up first, and that gives our life a purpose. It gives us motives, why we want to do things, why we want to act in certain ways, why we want to feel maybe in certain ways, right? Enthusiasm, idealism, all of that. So form follows function is a big one, right? Form follows function. So when I utilize my higher self to give me a purpose, my astral body actually can be kept in order. If you have a dog at home that is misbehaving, who's in charge? Yeah, exactly, the dog. Ideally, though, the human person would be in charge and tell the dog, no, the countertop is off boundaries, and no, there is a certain way of behaving here and there, right? We have boundaries, we have clear ideas, we have a purpose, we have an intention, we have goals. And our animal, who is, again, the astral body, the kingdom of the animals, that's where they live. That's where they have their strength, and where they can calm us, they can love us, they show us loyalty, and all of that. It's awesome. But if that would be the leader in our house, we would not be as happy. So the form follows function. If we utilize our higher self, then the form, right, of the astral body can be formed so that it has order, it has a purpose, it gets our emotions get involved with something. So impulse control, yeah, a big one for students to learn. Not only for students, I would say. Can I control my impulses, or do I have to act right away? Who is in charge? Do I follow my instincts, or do I know I have to wait because actually there's something better for me to get later on? Who is in charge, right? Then the astral body, though, all my emotions and my thoughts, they form right, because those are functions, that's how I use something, they form my etheric body. So let's go back. If I, down here, detoxing emotions and recurring thoughts will help me rejuvenate my life forces. Because if my emotional life is not in order and is in disarray, and everyone is let loose, and dislikes and likes are ruling my life, I won't have habits. right? Because I constantly think, oh no, I don't really like getting up in the morning at 8, so let's get up at 9. And I really don't like brushing my teeth at night, so let's skip this. But the next day, well, let's do it again. It's like, what is really in charge? Who is in charge and what is guiding us? So etheric body is led by habits and rhythm. I think I skipped that one here. Oh, on the top, can you see this here? Habits and rhythm, super important. Our life forces are these ongoing, unconscious movement that creates growth, vitality, well-being, energy. It keeps us energized. It's unconscious. What in your daily life is unconscious and gives you energy? That's your habits. You don't have to think about them anymore. And your rhythm, your routines. When you get up in the morning, you do this and you do that and you do this. You don't have to question that every day. You just do it, right? Often we actually are slightly unconscious. When I brush my teeth in the morning, I might not actually be aware that I'm brushing my teeth. We do a lot of things maybe unconsciously, and sometimes it's not that good. Like when you're driving in a car and you arrive at home and you wonder, how did I get here? And that's when you weren't really conscious. There are good times for life forces to take over, and then there are times when you might want to start getting into the driver's seat again. So habits and rhythm are rejuvenating your life forces. But if you constantly destruct your habits and your rhythm of the day by questioning it, if you are really feeling like it, then you are undermining your life forces. Make sense? Okay, good. Awesome. So last but not least, the physical body. So with the life forces intact, you will have a wonderful, wonderful physical body that is vibrant, energetic, and probably also with great skin. You will have bright eyes, shining eyes. You might find, that your body is not stressed in terms of tight with muscles, and it's not too loose. It's just the physical body will be your vessel if the higher self takes care with purpose and motives and intentions on what, right? And imprints that on the astral body by being a guide to emotions and thoughts. And the astral body then, being so well organized, can imprint that organization correctly on the etheric body, with the etheric body not being overwhelmingly growing into cancerous cells or into other fat cells and weight, right? And then once you have that and the etheric is clearly defined but also not diminished, then the physical body will show that. Yeah. Makes sense, right? So what have emotions to do with my vitality? I hope you understand a lot, right? A lot. And there's one more thing. So when this has to do, here I've explained it kind of in a way from the direction of from above to down below. There's another direction that I work on for many times, and I call it the emotional detoxing program. That is not only the finding the uprightness. Isn't that interesting too? Once a child starts standing up, there's more consciousness. Anyway, so the uprightness, once you have a certain uprightness inside of you, you have these different bodies that work down onto the physical body. Which, by the way, if you ever want to alter your physical body, you want to make sure the other bodies are part of that. So one big reason why I offer weight loss, well, not weight loss, exactly. I offer emotional detoxing so that weight loss is possible. Yeah. In my working so far, I have not seen someone being successful with weight loss if they didn't include the astral body with all the emotions and the soul in its entirety, or recognizing that there's a higher self and the etheric body. So you want to include, it's a holistic health coaching that I do. So I also though include my life forces that were given to me from my parents, right? So yes, we cut the umbilical cord when we are born, and we cut other umbilical cords energetically when we grow up, and eventually we are on our own, right? But if we then still have issues with our parents and we don't like them, or we exclude them because they are just too much, or because they have we have suffered under them and we can't accept that, or we have experienced just this huge disconnect that we just cannot relate to our parents, then one way of us humans is to fully disconnect, and also with that disconnecting from our own life force, because we're 50% dad, we're 50% mom. If we decide that mom and dad are not good enough, because otherwise we would not be good enough, we cut the ties to them, we don't allow ourselves to live. Does that make sense? So the life force that was given to us, we kind of cut out of our life as well, which leads to depression, feeling stuck, sickness eventually, that shows up in the physical body and in our life forces. We might feel under pressure constantly. We might have the feeling we have to do it all by ourselves. Our knees start aching. We might have knee problems because we believe we have to do it all by ourselves. And it's just really, really draining to source everything from your own well, whereas when your whole family system would be there to provide you with energy. So in my work with the family systemic constellation work, I show you, actually I guide you through this whole process of reconnecting and making sure that in your family system, these life forces are all welcomed and passed on in the generations so that you can be blessed with them, their good thoughts and well wishes. That is one of those beauties of family systemic constellation work, to detox emotions so that you are freed up to really allow life fully into your life. And I know, living life fully is one of those cheesy, I would say cheesy phrases that someone might put up in a I don't know, eHarmony, I want to live life fully, where's my partner? No. I think you understand by now what it really means to live life fully. It means that you allow all your life forces to be intact, and that someone is in the driver's seat to make sure that there's a harmony and an ebb and flow of life and death, of wilting and growing, because we do want to have death or wilting when we have cancerous cells, or when we are losing weight. You actually have to become aware that you are trying to push back on certain growth without diminishing your vitality. The vitality just needs to find a different place to be as vital as it has been in your fat cells. All right, good, makes sense, yeah? So how can you use all this I told you today? And I mean, again, this is just the beginning of an awesome webinar series that will happen every month. There will be another webinar for this year, 2016. Awesome. And every webinar will be followed by 2 group calls, our study group. Yes, let's talk and observe what I am teaching you here today. It's exercises of, okay, how can I really see my etheric body? How can I make it so that I can actually feel it? And we can also talk, see it in trees. For example, years ago when I was looking, really training myself in this, I was taking a bike ride through the woods in Hanover, Germany. Beautiful city, has a huge city forest, and so I was looking at trees while I was biking down there to my work, and I suddenly started seeing a shimmer around those tree trunks. And until I realized, oh, that's not just a hallucination, that is actually the life force that I was able to see coming up and down these trees. Amazing. It was such a beautiful experience to see that. And you can practice that. I would say most of us are able to really start seeing things, start seeing life forces, because it gets, it's not that uncommon anymore that most of us, or at least we can feel it. If you go up to a tree, you can usually feel and sense it if you make yourself sensitive to it. So when is the study group going to happen? It's going to be Fridays. We are doing our 2 study groups on study group calls on April 15 and April 22nd at noon Eastern time. All right, so the California ladies, you are welcome to join. It's 9 a.m. in the morning for you. And anyone in Europe can be there with us around dinner time, 6 p.m. probably. So I would love to have a little group together, or a bigger group, depending what comes together. It's going to be a group call of 75 minutes each. And if you sign up now, as you see this webinar, and as long as it's up, and as long as we haven't gone past those sign-up dates, it's $35, right? 2 group calls, 75 minutes for all your questions, and to practice becoming aware of the etheric body and vitality in oneself and others. It's a steal. Come on, $35. 2 group calls, and you practice that with us. You will need a plant. I can tell you that much. You will need a gorgeous plant, not gorgeous, not too big. It's fine if you even just have a cactus. No, maybe not a cactus. It might not work, but it's gonna be fun. It's really gonna be fun. However, if I know that some of you don't really enjoy group calls too much, they would rather do it in person, or you don't have time on Friday at noon Eastern time. I get that. Therefore, for you, because you're listening and you're here till the end, it's a vitality session one-on-one from me to you. 60 minutes, and we talk seriously about your vitality and your questions, and also can do some constellation work around regaining your vitality from your ancestors. Yeah. 60 minutes, $60. Seriously, usually you pay $150 for that session. Yeah. There's in the Facebook group, Soul Body Connection on Facebook. It's a closed group. Ask to join, and you can find sign-up links there for this vitality session as well as for the study group. So don't hesitate to hop on over to the Facebook group. Yes, this is not an easy sign up here, press the button thing. You actually have to do this next step, because it's a steal, and I love to see you at the Facebook group, so you can sign up there. If you have any other questions about what I've talked about today, and you are more than welcome, again, to join Soul Body Connection Facebook group. Closed group, just ask to be allowed to join, and then post your question there. I would love to see it and to hear about it. Thank you so much for listening in. This is it. Light Forces and the Etheric Body, a webinar just for you by Laura Gedina. That's me, Soul Body Health Coach, and I hope to see you around. If you ever want to check out my website and find out what other programs and offers I have there. Plus, if you want to pre-order my upcoming book, Silver Lining Storybook, where my chapter is Walking with Weight, you can pre-order it on my website, www.lauragedina.com. Until next time, lots of love. Bye.